what is going on, everyone, and welcome to a new tutorial of After Effects. And in this tutorial we'll be going through basics of After Effects, and by the end of this tutorial you should be able to make something like this. So yeah, without wasting any other minute, let's begin. As soon as you open After Effects, you're introduced to a layout like this. We are using the default layout. You can choose the same by clicking on default on the top. Let's create ourselves a new composition by clicking on new composition. Let's name this comp as render. The width would be 1920, the height would be 1080, the frame rate would be 30, and the duration would be 10, and the background color would be black. You can change it according to your needs anytime. Press on OK. Okay, first let's create ourselves a shape by pressing on Q or clicking on the shape tool over here. You can change the shape by clicking on Q again. Let's take a rectangle and let's create a rectangle. You can change the color from here. Let's take a red color and let's keep the stroke as yellow. Cool. Okay, now you can click on the selection tool from here or press V on your keyboard to move the shape wherever you want. Then you can hold spacebar to move in the project, or you can click on H so you can move on the project without holding any key. You can click on Z to zoom in, or Alt plus Z to zoom out, or you can just click the zoom tool or the magnifying glass in the tools panel. Then you can add text by clicking T and getting yourself the text tool, or clicking it in the tools bar again. Let's name it hello. Okay, you can change the size and the font of the text by double clicking here, and let's change the font to Montserrat for now. Let's go with the extra bold one. Cool. Okay, now if you see a anchor point like thing over here, this is really important, so listen carefully. So you can change it by clicking on the anchor point tool in the tools bar and bring it into the center. To pin it to the center or hook it to the center, press on Control, and there we go. So what's the use of the anchor tool? So assuming you want to scale down the layer or the text layer, the shape layer, or in fact any layer, so you press on S. Make sure you are in the editing slide, press on S and just scale down. But now if you want to scale it down from this side, you can just move the anchor point over here and it starts scaling down from here. I hope you notice the difference, and this is a game changing when it comes to specific animations like reels, shorts, and many more. You can similarly click P on your keyboard to bring up position to change the position of the text. You can click on T to change the opacity of the text. You can click on R to rotate the text. Similarly, if you want to rotate it from the middle, change the anchor point to center, so it rotates in the middle. Pretty cool, right? So now let's create ourselves basic animation with graphs and keyframes. Firstly, let's delete this text. Let's create a new text. So let's name this text as, let's see, designer, or anything you want. Let's align it. To align it, you can just go to align and just press here and here. Okay, obviously just take your anchor point as shown, press Control and bring it to the center. Make sure it's aligned. Cool. Let's increase the size. Click on S and increase the size. I guess 219 should be perfect. Cool. Now let's create ourselves a pop-in animation. So to create pop-in animation, we have to obviously mess around with the scale, the size. So let's keep this. Let's make the timeline lower. You can make it shorter by going over here and dragging it inwards. So if you see F over here, it means frames. If it's S, then it's seconds. Okay, so let's keep it like this. Okay, so at around 10 frames, no, 20 frames, let's put a keyframe. A keyframe is like a position or a value which would occur after the amount specified before it. It may be confusing now, but let me show an example. So if you see the value here is 219, let's bring it to 0 at the start. So as we go ahead on the timeline, the value increases to 219. It goes from 0, which we said, to 219. Easy. Cool. So we get an animation like this. So this is not what we want. We want it to be faster. So what we can do is select these both keyframes and click on F9. We easy ease these keyframes and open our graph editor. We're going to make ourselves a basic graph. So just push the anchor forward. What we are doing here is the speed will go from low to high, and if we make it like this, it will go from high to low. So for the video, we want it low to high, and press again to go back to your timeline. Okay, this seems pretty great. So now I want to make this animation more natural. So how do I make it? So when the animation becomes the full size, I want it to bounce. So what we can do here is go few frames ahead around here and bring the size a bit less. So we get this bouncy animation, which looks pretty clean and I like it. Okay, so now we can do is make the text go out of the frame. So let's make an out transition at 3 seconds. Let's make it at 2 seconds. Okay, so for this one, let's make a transition with the position values. As we did last time, let's make a value on the current position. Let's go a few frames ahead. Let's go like 10 frames ahead. And we'll make the text go downwards. So like this. And I want the graph to snap in like this. Okay, we didn't easy ease the keyframes, so let's easy ease them. So select the keyframes and F9. If you don't have F9 or it's not working, you can do is select the keyframes, right click, keyframe assistant, and easy ease. Okay, so now let's go to the graph editor. This is one of my favorite graphs, and I use this mostly in every animation. It's simple, easy, and just goes well with everything. So now we have an animation like this. Okay, so I want a motion blur. So it's pretty easy to add. Just click on toggle switch modes and click on this option over here. This adds a motion blur to the current layer. So if you see when the text is popping up, it blurs the text. When it moves or anything, the text gets blurred and it becomes more natural. So yeah, and let's conclude this video. And I hope you learned something. In the further tutorials, we'll learn much more things, much more complex and easy, fun things. So I hope to see you in the next tutorial.